하고 이거 라이브가 잘 되고 있을 거라서 저희도 잘 들리는지 한번 확인 때 이렇게 좀 나오면은 저 공유 한 번만 해주세요. 사진. 네네네. 행사 사진. 네. 이거 지름 정도는 제가 뒤에 듣고 있어요. 이거 지름을 있어요? 이거를 당연히 이게 더 잘 들려. 아, 이게 잘 들릴까요? 네네, 그렇게 할게요. 그러면 이거 켜볼까요? 예, 그래주시면 괜찮겠죠? 지금 제가 이 옆에 대기하고 있다가 드릴까요? 네, 그렇게 괜찮습니다. 네. 저는 여기서 하세요. 네네네.
안 쓰시게요?
네, 안 사용 안 하시는 거예요.
아, 네.
그 화면으로 바꿔주세요. 이게 제가 자동으로 돌아가 있어서. 그쵸. 그거 취소해드릴까요? 그 다른 거는 해야 돼가지고 그냥 이 화면만. 아, 네네. 하시는 거. 네네, 알겠습니다. 잠시만요. 이거 많이 삐뚤어주셨어요.
아, 이렇게?
네.
네. Hello everyone. We're going to start soon. Please take your seat, please. So those who are outside, please come in. Take a seat, please. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome. Before I formally introduce today's distinguished speaker, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our Dean of GSIS, Professor Jung Lee. And our esteemed guest, President of MSF Korea, 송경아 선생님. Also, Dr. Emma Campbell, the Executive Director of MSF. Now it's my great honor to introduce to you Dr. Christou, the International President of Doctors Without Borders, or Medicine Sans Frontières, excuse my French. Dr. Christou has dedicated his career to providing medical aid in some of the most challenging and undeserved regions around the world. Dr. Christou graduated from Aristotle University's Medical School, holds a PhD in surgery and master's degree in international health with a focus on health crisis management. His career spans several roles in surgery, including work in the UK and various global assignments. Since joining MSF in 2002, Dr. Christou has served in critical field positions, working in countries such as Zambia, South Sudan, Iraq, and Cameroon. His leadership within MSF has been nothing short of transformative, and in 2019, he was elected MSF's international president. We are deeply grateful for this opportunity to hear from Dr. Christou today and gain insights from his extraordinary experience in humanitarian medicine. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Christou.
Thank you so much. I will start with you. It is a great privilege and a great honor to be here. I knew about Yonsei University, but having the pleasure to see your premises here, meet your distinguished professors, and also now having this opportunity to engage with you, it's quite unique. And I hope I will also meet your expectations from this presentation. There is 7 pages here with, thanks to my colleagues, with all the important messages that we would like to share with you. But I'm not going to go through that. I will try to just be more direct and explain a little bit what is this all about. And I will start by sharing with you my story of life with MSF. I started, as it was mentioned, in 2002. And I remember before I even joined MSF that I was sitting in one of these amphitheaters, and there was a poster. It had a bullet and a medicine, a drug. And it said, their weapons kill, ours save lives. And that's how I came to MSF. I felt like, okay, I want to be there to help other people. And when you are in medicine, you already help people. But what was different was that I wanted to be close to all those mostly excluded, mostly left behind, the people that they don't have access to essential medicine or to essential medical care. That's how I joined this organization. It was back in 2002. Initially, I was working inside my own country, supporting refugees, people on the move. And very soon after, I joined one of the famous MSF missions in sub-Saharan Africa that we were giving the battle against HIV. And those days, HIV was a big pandemic, killing millions of people, and we didn't have much to offer to them. There was a first line of what we call antiretroviral treatment. It was difficult, and the whole international community was hesitant. They said, how are you going to give these drugs to people that they don't have even a watch to know what time they should take them? And they're not going to comply with these treatments, and at the end you may do more harm than good. But we were convinced as MSF that as long as the people understand what they suffer from and where is the treatment, that they can really comply, do their best, and they can change them. And that's exactly what we did. We worked together with them. We took our drugs, and thanks to our logisticians, we went even in the middle of nowhere. And we delivered the medication. We sensitize, we educate the people. We work together with their communities. And that's how we even demonstrated with them together for better treatments, cheaper drugs, safer drugs for the people, pediatric formulas. And that's how we changed the whole thing with HIV. And that was back in 2004. Today we are where we are, and it was a real game changer that kept me in MSF. Of course, later I had to go back in my own country. I get my specialty in surgery. And in the meantime, I was again joining several different missions with MSF. And some people in MSF say, once in MSF, you always in MSF. And that's how I'm here where I am today. But what is MSF? It's a medical humanitarian organization, not the only one, of course. And today you're not going to listen things that make us different or special or better than the others. But I will talk to you about our history and our challenges that we have today. So we started in 1971, and it was a group of doctors and journalists. Why journalists? Because if you go through the basic principles of ours, you will see that what matters more and comes first is the medical action. But the medical action, together with what we call bearing the witness, being there to become the voice of the voiceless, to be the voice of the patient, and communicate their problems to the rest of the world. We call it témoignage. My English, my French also is not brilliant, but témoignage means exactly this, bearing the witness. So medical action, doctors, and communication, witness, advocate also about the problems of the others. And we do that with this notion of neutrality. Of course, we understand it's not easy to be neutral in most of these places that they are so sensitive or highly political. But you do your best to not take sides and be there only for one reason, to alleviate the suffering of those most in need, to do that no matter where they come from, what is their political, religion, or other belief, no matter what is their race or their color, you are there for patients. And you do that having impartially assessed their needs. So impartiality is another important principle of ours. But you have to do that also in a way that you are the one to choose where to go and not to go. How? This unfortunately happens only if you are financially independent. And not many organizations today can have this privilege, this unique privilege that MSF have, thanks to more than 7 million of donors around the world. My mom and whoever else you can imagine, they donate. They come with their €5, with anything they have. And that's how we have this financial independence. And we are always guided by the medical ethics. It's not easy. But medical ethics is also something very fascinating, and there is always something that you question if you do it right. And wherever you go, you say, at least I'll be here and try my best to do no harm to these people, but offer anything I can. So this is MSF. These are the principles. When I speak to them in a very simple way, I say, there is this North Pole star there, and this is the needs of the people. So we are for them. We are there to alleviate the suffering of the others. And the principles are the way, the compass, to help us navigate through the difficult situations. And we treat people in more than 70 countries at the moment. We deal with malnutrition, with pandemics, endemic diseases, of course, natural disasters, man-made disasters, conflicts. And all these more than 50 years, we evolve. We learn from mistakes. We do make mistakes a lot. I'm a big fan of mistakes. I encourage my people to make mistakes, but not repeat the same ones. This is the way we learn also. In surgery, we know that the moment that you make a mistake, you just need to acknowledge, communicate, learn from that, and carry on. And the history of MSF is full of dilemmas. It's full of crossroads where you don't know where to go, choose this direction or the other. And we know that there's no right or wrong, but putting this dilemma in front of you and discussing about this is always very important. Very recently, we had several different dilemmas. We've been in very sensitive contexts, like the war in Ukraine, like the war in Gaza. And these are things that, I guess each one of you are very familiar with. But there are also other contexts that people do not speak. And they say, they are forgotten. I say they are just neglected, meaning on purpose. We don't pay much attention. One of them being Sudan. So let me start with Sudan. I've been there several times. And what has been happening the last 2 years in Sudan goes beyond any imagination. We don't talk that much about a place where it has been suffering for many, many decades. And maybe you were too young back in 2004, but there was a massacre going on there. It was the famous genocide in Sudan, in Darfur. Last year and the year before, the same thing were happening. And when I visited the places, when I visited Darfur, I had horrific stories by the people there. I remember one of them saying that there were hospitals that have been looted, attacked by non-state armed groups, as we call them. There was a surgeon operating on the table. There was a pregnant woman. They asked him to finish the operation. He said, I can't do that, of course. I have to stay here. They shot and killed the woman. They injured the surgeon. And then they looted the whole place. They took the solar panels, the oxygen generators, anything. And they burned down to the ground those facilities. And that was just one of the several different stories from these places that you hear. And why I started with Sudan? Because Sudan shows exactly how difficult it is to be there and not just respond to the needs of the people, but also attract the attention of the world. Because otherwise, you will never get the solution. And that's where we are, 2 years down the road. In April, we will have completed 2 years. And there's no interest by anyone to resolve the problem. Of course, at the same time, there is more attention in other contexts. As I mentioned before, Ukraine. Doesn't matter if it happened in a place where you may think that, okay, they have all the facilities, it is in Europe. There's still plenty of massacres that can happen there and have been happening. Systemic violations of the international humanitarian law, bombardment of the civilians, using hospitals or schools for military purposes. All these things were happening in the heart of Europe. And with massive movement of the people, several millions of them seeking refugee and safety outside Ukraine. One thing that I was very proud of, and I was explaining that also to my colleagues before, is that no matter where you are, as long as you are driven by the passion to just address the needs of the people, you can always be very innovative. And that's exactly what we did in Ukraine. You had the east side of Ukraine, where was the front line. There's an echo. Maybe I have to do this. Here is better. Yeah. Now? Yes. So, and Ukraine has a very good railway system. They have trains. So we said, trains, okay, good. And there were many people that they had to be moved from west to east. From east to west. And that was not possible. So what did our MSF colleagues do? They transformed this train into a hospital. They set up oxygen generators, batteries, everything, and we turned it into an ICU, the different wagons. And that was a way to transfer people. We evacuated orphanages, we evacuated also nursing houses with people, elder people, with several different problems. And that became feasible only by doing this kind of transformation of a train to a hospital. Ukraine is still a problem, as you see, it's still a big issue. And I don't know if we get any solutions soon or not. But Ukraine also was a way to see that this world always uses double standards. I come from a small country in Greece, and I know what does it mean to be open and open your arms to people seeking refugee. And we've been welcoming people from the region, from wars, from Syria, from Iraq, many years, since many years now. And I would expect the same from Europe, but unfortunately we don't see that. And what we see is that for the Ukrainian refugees, everyone was very open, welcoming, while they didn't apply the same standards with people coming from other places, and especially people having different colors. And that's why I always use Ukraine as an example of how we must become better as a world. And then, of course, after Ukraine, we had Gaza. You are all familiar with Gaza. I'm not here today to talk to you about something that you have seen. Everyone has been so much exposed in all these horrific photos, videos, stories. What I wanted just to share with you is that whatever you have in your mind, the situation as we speak is even much more worse than what you can imagine. And my colleagues there, that they never abandon these people, they always try to find ways to share with us. And at the end, they just remain speechless. Systematic violation of, again, any frame, any rule of any... We know that even the wars have rules, but we haven't seen them being followed there at all. Tens of thousands of people dead, and especially kids, and how many injured that, the next generations will keep carrying this trauma. And it was a very complex and sensitive context. And the only way for MSF to navigate through that was to stay, in their principles, the ones that I mentioned before, to stay neutral, to stay really impartial, and to be there only for the medical needs of the people. And that's exactly what we did. But we had to speak out about this also. We had to bear the witness and amplify the voices of these people, which is not always appreciated apparently, but for us it was clear that we had to do that. We shouldn't shy away from this thing. At the end, and of course this has not finished, and there's another war going on, and we don't know what will happen next, I think we navigated well through all this because we stayed true and open and transparent in our principles. And we stayed as doctors, and we maintained this identity of being the doctors here. These are just a few of the contexts that we are operating these days. There are many more. There are places that still suffer by malnutrition. There are places that we still see the consequences of the climate change. And it's quite unfortunate to see that the people that they are less responsible for this, they pay most of the price. The populations in, let's say, in Mozambique, that they have been affected by severe floods, in Nigeria, in Maiduguri, that have been last October, the whole Horn of Africa that is affected by severe floods and then prolonged periods, seasons of dry. There's no food there. There is a massive movement of people. And on top of all this, again, because of the climate change, we see a change in different diseases, especially malaria. We see malaria in these places in all over the years. During the whole year, it's not seasonal anymore. And that's because of new, more resistant strains, because of the climate change. So there are plenty of consequences that, of course, scientists may have started talking about decades ago. But for MSF, it's what becomes our everyday reality in all these places. Again, should we say something? Should we speak about it? The answer is yes, no matter if you're not the expert one and you're just the doctor there, you have to talk about the root causes of these problems. And that's exactly what we try to do with our communication. So this is a global picture of challenges, dilemmas, contexts that an organization like MSF have. Is there a bright side in this? Many people ask me, do you think that the world will become better, or I don't know what? Well, I don't know. And today, I think that we don't have many reasons to be optimistic with what is happening around. But we still need to carry the hope. And this is what the people expect from us more than anything else. I'm here in a university in Korea. Korea is becoming a power. Either you like it or not, you are financially now the 12th most powerful country in this world. You are pioneering in many different ways, but especially in one that I'm mostly interested in the biomedics. You are contributing a lot in the research and the development of new medication. Very recently, you have delivered an oral vaccine for cholera, a simplified oral vaccine for cholera that we know is going to save thousands, millions of lives now, that we were going to distribute it. So I'm talking to an audience that it doesn't matter if they one day join MSF or not. They have to be responsible citizens in a world, and especially when it comes to what we call the global health agenda, they have to be there to really try their best to make this world better. And this is the reason also why I'm here. I'm in Seoul these days, to keep engaging with this new generation, to talk to the authorities, to ask them to support us more in what we do and how we do it, to enable us to make the most out of all of you and those that they are interested in joining MSF. But all these are maybe some of my objectives. But the most important one, and if there is only one message that you should take away from this session, is not about MSF and it's not about the work that we do. It's about the importance of standing by other people. That in this world, we didn't come alone and we cannot survive alone. We need to find all possible ways to stand in solidarity to others. Doesn't matter if you do that in your own work, wherever you are, in your own office, or if you do it the way that my colleagues do it in the other side of the world somewhere, living in a tukul, in a hut, and helping people in the middle of nowhere. It is the same important to keep standing in solidarity. This is what the other people want, and this is what they need in order to maintain their hope. And if they have hope, they find the ways to survive on that. So I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I think we have enough time now also to have some questions and answers. And again, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, it's very nice meeting you. My name is Camila Cordova. I'm from Mexico.
Oh.
I have a foundation. I'm president and founder of Fundación Solutesa, which we try to get people that are in very deplorable conditions medical access and healthcare access, mainly accessing medicines they don't have. So my question to you is, what piece of advice would you say to us that are starting? Because this foundation is almost 1 year old. I just started a year ago.
Mm. Well, again, I will use my experience and the experience of my organization that is 50 times older than yours. Is again what I said. Find a clear mission. What are you aiming at? Look at the principles that you need there. Bear in mind that everything we do is based on people. It's all about people. And how can you keep your people motivated is very important. What is this common friction out there that they have to all, follow in your organization? And be open-minded, because we think that we know how things work, but we make so many mistakes, with the most recent one being, the doctors always have this very paternalistic approach. They see you as a patient, and I'm the surgeon. I know what you need, so you stay there. I'm going to be the one providing you the treatment and the plan. That's wrong. Engage, as we now know that we have to engage with the community. Sometimes they show us the way, and we don't know the way. They know. And when it comes to more specific access, there's a lot there going on, but the whole landscape of access is changing again these days because of what is happening, especially with all our leaders that they are pulling out from the humanitarian response. But there are still passionate organizations, and I really hope that you will have the support that you need for that. And there's still MSF with an important role in access that you can make the most out of use. By the way, in Brazil, we have a regional hub there that you can engage with. Good luck.
First, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. And I wanted to ask you about a trend that I noticed in recent years. Growing up, I was under the impression that if a NGO has, for example, clear insignia, if they respect the laws of the country, that they're usually spared most of the violence, let's say, that's occurring. But there seems to be a worrying trend where certain state actors are ignoring all forms of sanctity, let's say, of NGOs, of your organization included. And I wanted to know, what does it look like? How do you even approach a problem like this, that certain countries are not showing your employees the respect they deserve?
Yep. You touched upon something that I didn't mention before, and especially when I was referring to Gaza or to Ukraine, or especially Gaza and Sudan, the what we call the attack to the medical care itself. They attack us. They attack hospitals that were supposed to be sacred places. And no matter how many security measures you take, how much you engage with the authorities, with all sides, and both states and non-state armed groups, it seems that the last years this attack has become a weapon of war. So you can't go against that. And it's not up to the humanitarians to do anything more about that. This is my conversation with all the stakeholders, with all the authorities, with people that they are there, and it is their responsibility to ensure that there is accountability outside in the world. We don't see that. We see just impunity. They violate the international humanitarian law and they don't get any punishment. And the international humanitarian law, all of the laws of the world, is the only framework that we have to work somewhere. So I think that's where there is a responsibility of all of us as citizens of this world. And that's where our role comes in our own societies, to not let this happen. I'm living in Geneva, in Switzerland. Yeah, they are far, far away from that. But I'm pleased to see that the Genevan doctors are demonstrating outside there, saying that medical care should not be a target. Hospitals should not be a target. If you target the hospital in Gaza this day, tomorrow it will be my turn, or whoever else's turn. We should not let this happen. And that's how I see maybe solutions. Don't expect that from humanitarians. It has to come from all of us, because we may be the next victims.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for this speech. It was really inspiring and informative as well. My name is Stephanie, and I'm attending Iowa Women's University. I'm studying a master's degree in development cooperation, and I aspire to become a humanitarian worker. I already have some experience working in a medical relief organization back in my home country. But according to your experience, what do you think will be the top 3 skills that a good humanitarian worker should train the best as possible in order to provide the best service to patients?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You guys want 3. Everything is about 3 now. Yeah. No. You need to believe in that first. You need to believe as I believe in humans. I said before that I don't have many reasons to be optimistic, and sometimes even I'm a humanitarian. When I see what's going on in the world, when I look at the choices that citizens make, whom they vote for, what they do, how much we shift to the extreme right in Europe and in many other places in the world, I lose a little bit this faith. But again, I believe in humanity. I believe in human beings and the power that people can have when they are together. And collectively, they can change that. And that is what I'm trying to serve with my humanitarian work. The second is empathy. It's important. And these are skills that, yeah, they can be useful anywhere, everywhere you are. You need them. You need to understand and empathize with the others wherever they are. And the third is, to my opinion, I don't know the word, but it's about making things collectively. This is the power that people can have only when they collectively respond to the needs. And this is what we know when we get inspired wherever we go, and especially in natural disasters. They say, oh, MSF are great. They come within 48 hours and they set up a scene after an earthquake. Great. Yes, we do that. But the neighbor was there the very next moment that the earthquake happened. And it's them that they respond immediately, and they do most of the job. and they do that openly. They are there with their empathy, and they are there with anything that they have. I've seen that. Grandmothers cooking for everybody, the very coming hour of a natural disaster. That is very powerful, and we have to know that. So yeah, if you have these things in your mind, then yes, you can be a good humanitarian. If I dare to say to give advices, I'm not good on that. I'm sorry. Oh yes, at the end.
Thank you for your speech. I have two brief questions. First, I've learned that MSF's funding primarily comes from private donations. And do you have any suggestions regarding fundraising? The second one is, has MSF been affected by the US aid budget cuts so far?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll start with the second question. We have not been directly affected by what has been happening the last weeks after the new administration and the executive orders in the United States. We have not been affected directly, I repeat, because we don't take any government funds, and we are, what I explained before, financially independent, which is a unique privilege. But I deliberately said not directly affected because what has been happening these days, not only in US, but also in many other places in the world, goes beyond the cutting of the funds. It is, to my humble opinion, targeting also the humanitarian aid itself, criminalizes the humanitarian aid. You see the narratives. They go against what we do. This is extremely worrisome. This is what we should not let happen. And this is not just US issue, I repeat. Now, what we expect to see is a complete disruption in many of the places where we operate. And we already started seeing these consequences. We are sitting in places where there was a clinic next to us, working, delivering HIV medication to other patients by other NGOs, and it had to close, to shut down within one night. We see vaccination campaigns being suspended. We see, water and sanitation activities that they are so important in so many places, so many camps around the world, that they cannot happen anymore just because these other organizations don't get any more funds, or even because they have been asked to stop working and they have been asked to go home. This is the situation. And there, of course, it has affected our patients and their communities. Thus, it will affect MSF. But now, back to the financial independence. Indeed, we have people that they know fundraising say that what you do is because you have this great brand. And, well, I don't know. What I do know is that all these 54 years since our foundation, we try to communicate in a very honest, transparent, and direct way. And we also tried to stay simple, because this is the way we think. It's a very simple way of looking, reading, understanding the world, and this is the medical way of responding to things. We are there as doctors. with our humility, with our mistakes, but also with our passion to stand by other people that they are in need. And it has been moments also that very honestly we go back to our supporters to tell them that we're sorry we cannot absorb more of this money for this specific project. If you are interested only on that, take your money back. If not, give us your your license to use them somewhere else. And these are not fundraising tricks. There is something behind it, very honest, very humane. And that's what I'm defending also from my role and my position here. So yes, financial independence is a chain. I was explaining that before to journalists. It's a chain with all the supporters, with us here in our offices, the headquarters, that we try to enable those that they are in the field and they implement what we call social mission, the alleviating of the suffering of the people. And every single part of this chain is very important. It's an integral part. If we cut one of these parts, the whole thing falls apart. So that's another thing that I always try to inspire everyone, my donors, my people in the field, those people that they work in the headquarters, whoever, that we are all equal part of a movement that wants to stand in solidarity to other people. And it's only if we are together that we can do all these things that we are proud of. That is fundraising for MSF. And it's not about getting the money. You can get, it's about establishing this strong relationship with your communities, opening the dialogue, sharing your concerns. That's why fundraising comes together with communication. It doesn't matter if they give the money. I know I come from Greece. Greece has been so much affected back more than 15 years ago by this crisis. And I remember people, pensioners, all the, grandfathers writing me letters and saying, I'm sorry, this year I cannot give you anything because I have to buy a toy in Christmas for my little kid. And I was writing back to him, handwritten, saying, it's fine. And even if you manage to give €1 single, please thank your kid on behalf of me for this. This is the relationship that we need. It's not about money. It's about, establishing a communication and a support.
Thank you for the guest lecture. I was wondering about your current aid policy for North Korea, the DPRK.
Come again about
your aid policy to the DPRK, to North Korea.
What? About I'm sorry, I don't.
Your current strategy.
About the aid policy? North Korea. Sorry. So your question is if we have any activities in North Korea?
Or plan to
Okay, it's a big chapter. And I guess it can become a little bit sensitive, I don't know. But no, I will use it as a hook to talk about something that is also very important for MSF. We call it access. Access to people that they need us. And not just in North Korea, there are several places in the world where we struggle a lot to gain access, to be able to be there to treat the people because of authoritarian regimes, because of very insecure contexts. There are several reasons, but when it comes to your question and your example, the big challenge behind it is that we cannot get access and we cannot really go with our principles, with our impartial assessment of the needs, and ensure that the humanitarian aid that we will give will reach those that they need it more. So this is one context. There are also others. We keep engaging. We keep talking to everyone. I keep talking to Taliban, for example, in Afghanistan, to whoever you can imagine in other places, to the authorities in Yemen, and try to convince them that it will be for the benefit of your own people if you let us do the job the way we do it, with these principles, and deliver the humanitarian aid. It's not always successful, but we will never compromise our principles, and we will never stay, silent to gain the access. Of course, we negotiate, and sometimes we may have to, but at the end of the day, this is the support that our donors give to us, and this is what everyone expects from MSF to do. So this is not negotiable. And to be more precise with your question, we were in North Korea, but we had to pull out because we couldn't really ensure that our humanitarian aid is being delivered in the way that we want. You want to add something on this?
I'm Jacqueline. I'm from Mexico, and I was reading the report, the activity reports. Right in Mexico, you have a mental health care journeys going on. But I want to know, what do you do about mental health care, and what are the major challenges you are facing in a society that actually it's not that open to take care of their mental health?
Yeah, and it's not just Mexico, the society that they are not open that much to the mental health. There are many societies. In most of the places, mental health was never a priority, neither by, the societies and their authorities, nor by MSF. We were also focusing on what we call emergency needs, and usually emergency needs were, nutrition, trauma, disease. However, the last more than 10 years, we have acknowledged these invisible traumas. And we try, and we do more, and in more and more of our projects, we see also this component of the mental health, especially in Mexico, knowing that our patients are the people that they have gone through painful journeys, very violent journeys in Darien Gap. I've been there. I've been in Mexico City in one of these units where we provide mental health support. And I was also impressed to see how innovative we can become by even using pets and helping people to disclose their issues. But these are just, drops in the ocean of the needs of the mental health. We started collecting evidence. We speak out more about this. And sometimes it's not just about patients having problems, especially in post-war situations. Everyone has a PTSD, and I'm not referring to Gaza. This is, and even in Yemen that I was, these people now, more than 5 years after the war, and they are still not visible, and they cannot have access to any basic support. And we talk about serious cases. But in other places, like in Ukraine, it was interesting to see that we identified also issues, not to patients, but to those that they care about the patients, to doctors, to the carers. And yes, we set up a hotline to support also the cares of the carers of others. And these are just first steps. There's a lot ahead of us that we have to do. Yes? Do you mind pressing the buttons between?
Okay.
Yes.
I know that in some cultures, the modern medicine is not always accepted because of cultures or beliefs. So how do you convince people to accept your help and vaccines and everything?
That's a great question. Yes, it's not easy. No. My examples come from HIV. And back in 2004, it was the beginning, as I explained before. And especially when you start antiretroviral treatments to people that they are already in very late stages of the disease, you have high chances to kill the patient. Instead, there's a syndrome there that when you boost the immune system, I cannot explain at the moment how it works, but when you have to treat the very late stage of HIV patients with those drugs that we had back 20 years ago, you could lose some of these patients. So you imagine you are a white doctor in the middle of a place that even kids, when they see a white person, they think it's a witch here. They run away. And you are there to convince them about a treatment that they have never seen. And by the way, sometimes they even lose their patients. It was very challenging. So you have to engage with the community. You have to, I think sensitization education is very important. You also need to be very open-minded and use everyone, the priests, the churches, the traditional healers. I had to spend long meetings with people, traditional healers, trying to convince them that it's not okay, you cannot get rid of the disease if you just, have sex with a virgin little girl. Because these were the misconceptions. But you need to engage. You need to spend all your energy and time to make it simple and be open there also to listen why. If you go with this very doctor, westernized, paternalistic approach, you lose. You lose audience, you lose people, and you need them. All these examples that I had, again, later on, my colleagues were confronted with similar situations in Ebola, where again, sometimes you had to treat patients, you lost the patients, and you had to seal them and bury them and not let their families to even touch these people. It was unacceptable. Again, these astronauts, the aliens coming with these uniforms here, taking my relative, not being able to see him or her for a while, and then bury them and don't allow us to mourn. Not acceptable. That's why sometimes we had even attacks in our hospitals. We learned also a lot from that. And then we went to the COVID. And we knew our lessons. We knew that we had to work together with everyone that you can imagine, especially to demystify things, to tackle the misinformation, which was the biggest threat those days in COVID, in the pandemic, and disinformation, of course. And the only way to do that is by engaging with everyone. And there's another thing that helps. And again, I go back to Ebola, because we were losing a lot of patients, of course. We didn't know how to treat them. We didn't have any vaccines. We didn't have anything those days. But one thing we had is we didn't abandon them. We didn't leave them. We were there looking them at their eyes and said, we don't know what's going on, but we will stay together. We will hold your hand, we will carry on and find our ways. And this is very powerful.
Thank you.
So if there are no other questions, I would just like to thank you all again for this. I'm sure you may have more of these kind of questions, or, you need to come and meet us. My colleagues can provide you some information on how this can happen. And I'm looking forward to a next moment that we will be here again and carry on our discussion. Thanks again for finding the time and joining me today.
Okay, thank you, thank you, everyone, for being here today, and we hope you leave today with with renewed sense of purpose and commitment to the causes that matters. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful lecture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all the graphics here. So, thank you very much.
You prepared that so well. The setup was great. People, you have very nice students here. They engage a lot.
Very smart.
Yes. No, you're so lucky. Thank you so much. Yeah. Great.
어렵네요. 네.